don't retweet. You have to read.
Huh.
But I've already started the stream, like...
Is it up, yeah?
Yeah, I'm starting. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so, welcome to the podcast this week. It's like the 11th episode, isn't it, now? Are we that far in? 8. There we go. Shows how much, how much I take care into this. But, yeah, we've got a good few guests. Nathan's back on. We all know. We all love a bit of Nathan in our life, like. We also got Rectify, the owner of Dozed, and we've got Josh as well. So how you all doing?
Just Josh.
You fucked it up already. Like, Rectify, the owner of those. Like,
No, Rectify, comma,
And though.
use your commas, bro.
okay.
And those esports.
What's our first topic, Jip?
So our first topic is about the CWL season. So I'm guessing that's like about like the LAN events that are going to be coming up.
And
You
League.
know, yeah, and the league as well. You know, like the system that they have in place. You know, you know, step up into that professional side, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Rectify, what do you think about the new CWL season?
Okay, so I think this is going to be the biggest CWL season yet, with of course $4.2 billion at stake. And yeah. What else can I say? I mean, it really speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited to see if there's going to be like a London event, because I'd really love to go to one. Because I haven't been
There probably will be a London event. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I want them to reach out more. I want it to be more than just everyone come to America and
Like worldwide.
I want it more worldwide. Like, what if we had an event in South Africa?
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
That'd be pretty
I'll
cool.
be sick.
Well,
It'd be cool, but like, who would attend? Like, I'm not being
Shit.
harsh, but
Yeah,
No,
of
There,
course.
there
we
is
could
a
attend,
South
like,
African Call of Duty. Call of Duty scene there, and it's
Yeah,
actually growing.
but will it fill out like, let's say, 160 team bracket? You know what I mean? If it
Yeah,
was
no,
stick,
like
that-
I guess.
I meant like I was actually thinking more like a championship there. I know it'd be a little out of the norms, but yeah.
yeah, well, we provide more exposure then for, you know, the players over there say that, like, well...
Yeah, and they're adding more countries to the national pro circuit or AM circuit.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
which
I
is
think
like
that...
key.
Go ahead.
That's that as a player myself, and like me being amateur status, like that's a big key for everyone. Like the best thing you can do as an esport is reach out to both sides of the community, both the pros and the AMs. Like having an AM league is gonna be like, wow, everyone wants to strive to be here so we can go pro. But it's overall, Call of Duty has been doing esports right. Very right.
With that, then it provides like an easier step, then, doesn't it, towards the pro scene? Because the way it is now, it's very difficult, you know, to go from amateur to professional. So that's going to help out a lot, and you know, we've seen a lot of big names come back, so it's going to be even tougher now to get into that pro area, just because more teams are coming in, more players are coming back, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, I think the main thing that we haven't really mentioned, which sounds really obvious, but it's the actual game that we're playing. You know, it's boots on the ground. Finally, that we return, and I can't see us ever going back to jetpacks again now. You know what I mean? Like, once we're on boots on the ground, I think that's it now. We stay there for good. That, in a sense, makes like kind of leads up to the whole scale. So it's like, it's a domino effect. When people are happy to play the game. People are more willing, you know, to attend these LAN events, compete at these LAN events, spend money on the game, and that obviously leads to a domino effect to everything else. So more funds into the game. Hopefully, I mean, they've been taking esports with COD quite seriously recently. It's just, I still don't think they've fully recognised the potential it has. You know what I mean? Last year, I think they've done really well with how many LAN events they did, how much CWL support there was, but it was a shame because it was just a shite game. Whereas this year, we actually have a good game, you know what I mean, which we should be putting a lot of support into. So I think the main thing is just being that core game there. that obviously the community will be happy to play at the end of the day because they're the ones competing in it. It's not like other people are going to be doing that. So I think that's the most important thing. Josh, what do you think about COD? Like, obviously,
I think it's good that they brought back Boots on Grounds because of just like the thing of COD on the Earth, basically. Because, like, he does the people who jetpacks, just like
Jetpackers.
Damn jetpackers.
Get onto the ground.
Well, I mean, like from a casting perspective as well, it's much easier to keep up with stuff. You know, you can watch players, you can kind of guess where they're gonna go because now it's more of a lane system. Sorry, instead of, you know, a person could just jump over a wall. That's it. Now they're in the middle of the map, and and I feel like, you know, people from like outer Call of Duty and that are gonna find it much easier to watch it and kind of go with it instead of like, oh, what's going on here? Like too much is going on. Where you can just sit down. Oh, he's killed him. Like he's on the objective, so on and so forth. So it's going to be much easier, and I think that's going to bring a lot more people in as well. You know, to make the CWL much bigger, and you know, because if they're going to see like a boost in growth, then they're obviously going to be adding more stuff towards it.
Fair enough. It's a fair point. The only thing I didn't really like is the LAN events they're doing for EU wise. They've left it quite late. They haven't even announced it yet. They're announcing it after Dallas, but it's still like. Was there only one being in EU? I believe.
Yeah.
Like what? The EU scene. I understand that NA scenes obviously is a bigger audience, so therefore there's going to be more teams going. But at the same time, the EU audience is still growing, and you can see what we did last year. Some of the top EU teams, like this year mentioning like Splice and Red. You know, I mean, they're easily top contenders with top people from NA. So I think they need to take it a lot more serious because it cuts off the EU AM scene totally. Unless you're going to land a good org that, you know, will send you to that Dallas event, which is a lot of money. I'm sure you know as an owner of an organisation, it's you know, we're talking thousands. So it's like, why should the EU AM scene? They're just going to be left behind because it's all a pro point game at the end of the day. And obviously, to get pro points, you need to be going to these LAN events. Well, the big majorities. You can play your pro points each day, your 5 matches, but the real big amounts you can get are from LAN events, 2Ks. And if you've been cut off on them, because it's two American LAN events you can't attend, like, you know, what can you do about it?
Yeah.
If you can't get the funding there, if you can't afford it, then, you know, you're instantly stepped back. You can't do anything about that, which is very annoying. And yeah, they haven't even announced the EU LAN event yet. So yeah, cheers for that, CDBR.
I'd say like even last year they had 3 in England alone. 3 LAN events from Sheffield, Birmingham, and then they had the last chance qualifier as well here as well.
Yeah.
It's just a surprise that they've left it so late. You know what I mean? Because it's like we're talking early next year until we get to see EU LAN event. It's annoying.
I mean, they definitely, like, the thing is, like, I feel like, given that MLG started in America, it's just, like, now it's expanding to Europe. You have Europe with the ESL and the E-League stuff. I just feel like we could definitely do a few more LANs in the EU. Like, we have ESWC in Paris. You have CW Sheffield, Birmingham. Yeah, that was a good event. If you could just get more of those and, like, not in just in more cities, like let's have one in, let's say, Bucharest or Prague or what else can I think of? Cologne, like where ESL has their majors at. You could host a COD event there. That's key, because then people want to come. They're like, oh, it's a different major for a different game. Maybe I'll come and see how it is. And as long as we keep the toxics out.
And then you're gonna see different teams as well come up. You know, because as Nathan said, you know, taking people all the way to America, where, you know, a lot of people are based in Europe, they're going to find it much easier. You know, we can get like a ferry all the way to Germany. You know, and it's going to be much easier, and then you're going to see more teams, and then that's more competition.
A ferry.
Yeah, ferry. You're hating on the ferries, like.
Is that the best transport? Ferry to Germany.
Also, can I speak to you? Can I speak?
Go on then, bro.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, if we do more EU if we like balance out like the EU and the NA events, I think there'd be more like an increase, kind of like an increase in like attention from like like Call of Duty casual games from like other countries, because it's like the biggest like country in EU EU COD is basically the United Kingdom. So so if we just basically like expanded it to like you guys were saying like to Germany, to
Composure,
yeah.
continue.
yeah. So if we like expanded it to like other countries and stuff, then yeah, people would be more likely to attend them, and we'd see a more like variety of like teams instead of seeing UK teams in the Call of Duty World League. Yeah.
Right, I can't fucking compose myself.
Oh, go away. And you retard.
I'm
We're just
sure
waiting for you to notice that.
Oh, fucking.
I'm crying.
I'm fucking sweating my tits off now. It's literally not even that funny, Jit, bro. You fucking laugh, made me laugh, man.
Oh.
Right. Anyway, what we were talking about. God, what were we talking about? Jesus. So,
Expanding. Just expanding in general.
you were mentioning the main. What did you say was the main populated country in the EU?
As in like
UK.
people who play like competitive Call of Duty, as in be the UK. So if
You
we
think?
expanded more, yeah. So if we expanded it to more countries and made more events.
Put your mic closer.
Hello? Yeah. So basically, if we like expanded it into like other countries, like Germany, and, countries like that, then I think more people in the EU would be more interested in so then people, I mean, more teams would be there, and like there'll be a more variety of teams. So
No, I know what you mean. Because I would say like Germany and France, maybe not France, but Germany definitely is like an untouched market. You know what I mean? They are there, but they're kind of like. I'm sure we can admit nobody really likes playing German. It's just
Esports still has their I'm pretty sure they still have a COD roster. Yeah, they do. They do have a. I'm pretty sure they have a COD roster. I'm not sure yet.
Who's this?
Well, I'm trying to see right now. I'm looking them up. But if we get more people there, we're good.
There's a couple top teams in Germany. It's just when it comes to competing against the UK teams, they don't really have any hope. Like there's nothing wrong with them. It's just I feel like as they are, like connection wise,
online is
Germany, you know what I mean? Nobody really likes to play Germany.
But there's just too much of a skill gap.
True.
Like it's because you can't get the scrims. Like the moment you start getting scrims with teams like that are greater than you and you have more of them, you get like you adapt to them and you learn from them. Like if they can't like the reason like Splice and Epsilon broke out in the EU scene and they were so good at NA was because they were scrimming the NA teams at the Global Pro League.
Yeah.
So here's something that's very untouched as well. How do you guys feel about an American player playing for a European team? So I've actually had one of my friends, he played for Team Vitality, moved from New York to France to Paris for about a good stretch of time, and he was playing for Team Vitality. Like, what do you guys think of that? That's also a really big option if EU really wanted to pay the price to import their talent.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool with stuff like that. It's just inconvenient at the end of the day, you know what I mean? It's that extra finances that an organisation may not be able to put in. And it's always that factor. It's like, if that player's worth it, cool. Like, if we're talking top player, the only one comes to mind is Scumpy at the moment. Obviously, everyone knows Scumpy. Let's say Scumpy leaves Optic. Would Splice, I'm sure Splice would be willing to pay the fees over so we could come live in Europe. I mean,
technically, Splice is NA. They're actually an NA organization. They have
NA, but they got an EU COD team.
They just have an EU COD team, and they also have a Spanish outreach. But
mostly it's NA.
Yeah,
so I'm sure it makes it even more case. Like I'm sure they'd be happy. It's like,
well,
let's say it's like a low professional player. I don't want to name any names because I'm sure they wouldn't like to admit. You know what I mean? That's the level they compete at. But it's like you got to weigh up: is it worth it? Could you get a player that lives in the same country as you that's just as good? Like, why are we paying these fees if you're just going to come over and shit the bed and not do too
Yeah,
much?
exactly.
It's like, is it worth it?
Well, it's gonna be well. You won't be able to like practice like just because of latency wise, and with the time zones as well. We like that.
Yeah.
Like
It's
there's
very
what
hard
like
to
a
get
5-6 hour delay difference.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Obviously, if you are going to have a team member from a different region, you have to get them over to where the main actual team is. So if if one player's from Europe, obviously you get him sent over to NA. But like I said, it's just a case: is it worth it? Is your chemistry that good that you think you can do some damage? Like, is it worth it getting over?
Yeah. Because they used to have
sweet.
like a few mixed teams.
Yeah.
Epsilon actually had a mixed team. It was Killa and Miracles, and it had Mad Cat, and I forget who else. But the other one was European as well. And that, like, I liked the whole mixed team situation. Like, it's a very untouched topic when it comes to COD.
Yeah, I mean, the big one to mention was it Ghosts when Swanee left Europe to go join Optic for like a 2-month, 3-month period or whatever it was, and then his visa kind of ended there, so he had to go back. That was the big case I remember. No, which was pretty cool, obviously, but it's again Optic can afford them finances, so of course they got him over. But yeah, it is interesting. I like what they've done with the CWL season. Hopefully they can do it well. It's just a case of you need good support from the devs, you need good support from the COD World League, and you need a good reception from the players. I think, like I said, you always need an amateur community. Without the amateurs, there's going to be no money in the industry. Simple as. If you actually think about it, like 10% of the COD community is probably professional, and then 90% is amateur. Talking about that amateur and pro, it's like I mentioned in last week's podcast, Overwatch. Where's their amateur community? You know what I mean? They don't have one. That's the thing.
It doesn't exist.
It's
like, you're
it's
either
a
elite or you don't play.
Yeah,
so if you want to get into Overwatch, pay 17 million if you want to get a spot, but that's the only reason you're going to be putting a foot in the door. That's the weakest point of Overwatch, and in my opinion, I don't see it worthwhile being that much of an investment. You know what I mean?
Well,
Same with League of Legends. They're going to that now. I don't like the whole franchise system.
Yeah.
Is it cool for esports wise? Yeah. Is it cool for the players? Hell no.
No, it's not.
Like you're either a professional or you're a nobody, and nobody wants to pick up a nobody.
It's like, who do you think actually watches the game? People who play it themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I definitely don't watch
people
Overwatch.
understand the game. Like you can understand like Call of Duty fairly soon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Compared to League of Legends, there's so many different stuff like that you have to know to be able to understand it.
Do you think there should be a system in place? Like League of Legends has been quite doing it with the adverts on YouTube. You may see the odd times.
Oh, that's so annoying. Like...
Yeah, it's annoying, but it's like
it drills into you.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like how you want someone to come across League of Legends and know what they're doing straight away. I know League of Legends is quite a confusing game when you just glance at it and it may look a bit daunting. Call of Duty is the same. It's like they never really implement. I know it's a simple game to play at the end of the day, but it's still that case. People might not understand hardpoint. People not S&D. I guess you can. It's been around in loads of different regions, but stuff like hardpoint, people may not grasp straight away. So I think COD is just missing that little introduction to someone that's new to this game. You know what I mean? And kind of they can get their grips on from that point. Other than that, I think League of Legends is doing it well.
Oh yeah, well, as I said with COD, like it's easier to like attract more people into the game just because like the simplification it does have, and like what I was thinking about with like what Overwatch has, could you see like a World Cup for Call of Duty, like to have a team from each country, like once
that'd be cool.
Actually,
That's
that'd be cool. But
there.
I don't think there's enough. Like, I don't think people want that.
It'd be cool to see, but it's like at the end of the day, think
Exactly.
about Overwatch is new, so they can do that. You know what I mean? Whereas COD, we've been
you've
rooted
been
NA versus EU for years now. So it's like if we stepped away from that, so you can only have one team from North America and one team from Europe. Then
no. Well, it wouldn't be like it'd be like one team from each country.
one team from each country. Like it wouldn't be fair because no other team besides there's no teams in NA and EU. It's literally just NA or EU.
Yeah.
Like there's no German team that's gonna represent their country well. There's no French team that would represent their country well. There's no Canadian team. Well, there are a few Canadian teams that could do it.
What's that, like,
It'd just be really
Canada's got like
like that.
karma and that, isn't it?
Canada's karma, like
Yeah.
royalty.
Could be
Okay,
part
so-
like if like they put like more time into it and then like people
Mhm.
you know knew about it, then it might. But let's say there probably isn't like the fan base in it towards actually getting it done.
Next topic, Jim.
Yeah. So next topic will be about the Gears of War, correct? Yeah.
Okay.
So as we all know, it's this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Next week.
Next weekend. There we go. There's a LAN event for Gears of War, EGL London, where the Radiant team's competing. Wishing them luck.
Good luck.
Is that it? Like, see how it is.
A bit more enthusiasm, please.
Um,
But not.
I'll say.
Sorry.
No,
Just-
you go. It's all
No,
good.
go ahead.
No.
I know you didn't have anything to say. You just go ramble, bro.
No, go.
Right, Rexflo, what do you think about Gears of War? Do you know much about Gears of War as of yet? Because I'm sure most of the chat don't know much about Gears of War, so you're probably not the only one.
So yeah, I don't know much about Gears of War, but it's like I know like the basics. Like it's a classic Xbox 360 title,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like, and it's kind of like resurfacing into like esports. And it's like growing, and you can actually see like a growth in the community because like like these tournament organizers are like willing to give $20,000 per event. So yeah, that's very nice, and yeah, I guess let's see what happens this year for Gears of War.
Yeah, Gears of War has been a classic. You know what I mean? It's
I
probably
love
lower.
Gears.
Like Gears, COD, and Halo, they've always been classic like console games. And
Yeah,
they've
true.
probably always been the top 3 console esports. But Gears of War, Halo, I'd say, has taken a big dip, but Gears of War has even taken a bigger hit. And from what they're doing now, I think Halo and Gears of War are both coming up.
Yeah.
But I like what Gears of War is doing next weekend with the 4 LAN events on one weekend. So it's California, Mexico, which was delayed because of the hurricanes. And what was it? California, New York, London, and Mexico. I like what they're doing there because obviously it splits the pro teams in 4 different regions, which is fair enough. Because obviously you don't want your Optic, your Envy at the same event because you know who's coming top 2 already before you start. So I think it makes it a lot fairer. It's just it's one thing I don't agree with is splitting 4 LAN events on one weekend. It's like, how are you going to cover all that, and how are you going to?
That's what I was just going to think about, like
You're not
streaming
really-
wise.
Yeah, I think if you did it in 4 different weekends, exposure-wise would be mad. You've got Gears of War on your timeline, on whatever social media you're using for 4 weeks. That's good.
Mhm.
Whereas 1 week, you're getting loads of it on your timeline, but
And
after
it's just
that
gone.
weekend,
It's just like
you don't see
everybody
it for a
can't
couple
decide
months.
which one they want to watch. It's like when they had DreamHack Atlanta and the PGL major. Nobody wanted to watch Halo. Everyone wanted to watch Counter Strike.
Yeah.
It's like you should never split it. Never split an audience, especially with Gears of War when it's quite small. So you're kind of like splitting a couple thousand into 4, and when you come into North America, who they're going to try and watch, Optic, Envy, and it's just going to be a swarm to them 2 regions. And let's say London and New York may be left behind, even though they are still up there, the same prize pool, the same caliber teams, and it's just leaving them behind. I mean, I kind of like what they've done, but marketing-wise, it really doesn't make sense. They should be getting a lot more exposure for what they're doing. Take it away, Jim.
I was gonna say, do you know what they stream on? Is it Twitch or is it over on Mixer? Because it is on
They'll
Microsoft.
probably do both.
Yeah, they'll do both.
Yeah.
Or it'll be on MLG.TV as well.
Yeah, true.
See, look, even then, like splitting it 3 ways just from that alone. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it gives people more ways to watch. Like, if somebody doesn't know about MLG.TV, they'll automatically, and they know about Twitch, automatically they'll go to Twitch.
Yeah.
Mixer, if they know about Mixer, they'll go automatically to Mixer. I doubt it'll be on Mixer because Mixer is more of a Halo thing because it used to be Beam,
Yeah.
and 343 did all of their like Halo stuff through Beam and Twitch.
The only reason I think it'd be mixed is because of Xbox.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's
that's-
partnered with
that's-
Microsoft, isn't it?
Microsoft.
One thing
Yeah.
I do like there is, it's more streams, so we're talking basically 8 streams on one weekend.
Mhm.
But it's like the Mixer community is a lot more smaller, and I guess a lot more interactive because they can do that. Whereas Twitch is so huge, it's like you can't really put a foot in and get exposure from the get.
Well, remember how Twitch used to be? It used to be just like Mixer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure people love that kind of stuff, but Twitch has gone too far to.
Twitch is just toxic now.
Yeah.
God,
It's too big, you know what I mean?
Let's not talk about
Twitch,
Twitch.
series,
Like,
Chipotle.
What we love streaming on right now.
I know. Like, a lot of the Twitch community can be like super toxic.
Yeah.
The only thing
Like,
I
if
do like what
if
they're
you're
doing.
competing, if you know your team is competing in an event and it's streamed on Twitch, do not look at the Twitch chat. Yeah, I learned that the hard way. I saw some awful stuff. I was like, dang.
It is quite work.
You guys then you have the verified people. They're saying awful stuff too. Like, dang,
Yeah.
you guys are awful people. Jeez.
Have you guys seen that case just happened like a week ago or like a couple of days ago where one organization owner of a team that was attending the CS:GO minor actually threatened like a caster.
Moric Invictus?
Yeah, Moric Invictus. Yeah, they got kicked out.
Their so their owner is one of my good friends,
Okay.
and I don't want to speak on I don't want to sound biased.
No, just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Because I have connections with both the CSGM and Warrior Invictus, and as it's going to be spun out in a few, and they're gonna do a much better investigation. I know they're kicked out of ESEA right now, but Warrior Invictus is partnered with CSGM, and CSGM's caster was the one that was doing all that, and of course CSGM's going to go try to bury it. I mean, wouldn't you do the same thing if it's reflecting on you?
I know what you mean.
But yeah, it was really bad. I read the story. I texted my buddy. I was like, "What on earth is going on?"
Yeah. I mean, the best thing, like I was gonna say, the best thing about Mixer and Twitch is like the Mixer community is quite smaller, but it's still the case of, let's say they might glance at the dashboard and, oh look, Gears of War is live. What's this? Click on it,
Yeah.
obviously, and it might grab a few people's interests and take it from there. But then again, it's split it in between 8 streams for one weekend, you know what I mean? Is it necessary? And if there's like a stream A and B for some regions for like different teams that are going on, then we're talking too many streams going on then, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't understand why they're trying to split it. Especially Gears of War, at the stage it at now, it should be trying to grow the audience, not splitting the audience. But yeah, I'm excited for EGL London. It should be a decent event. Like, EGL is a weird one because, like you mentioned earlier, before we even started the stream, you thought EGL may be the go-to from MLG, you know what I mean, for the Europe side. But I would say normally GFIN is the top one, and then it's kind of EGL passed down to. EGL's kind of gone quiet there, hasn't it, Rectified, to be fair, for the past couple of months. Like, you haven't really heard of it.
It's like the last time I've heard of it was like last time I think they hosted a Call G event. Yeah,
I don't know when that was. That.
It's like they're not really consistent. That could be down to like lack of funding. It's like but lack of people like funding into the EGL because like, you know, there's like no basically tournaments that want to.
There needs to be crowdfunding in this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the best thing that Halo ever did when it was still hosted by MLG was crowdfunding. And like Gears is going with that, but it could use a little help.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as much as crowdfunding, some people disagree, some people agree, but it does boost up the prize pool at the end of the day. I believe DreamHack Denver did it from, they were originally about to go from 100k, and then obviously the event was 200k, doubled.
Yeah. Look at Worlds. It went from, I think it was 1 million to 2.5 million.
As a prize Halo pool? Worlds though, like, Jesus.
Yeah, dude, that's crowdfunding. Like, why can't COD get that crowdfunding? Why can't Gears get that great of crowdfunding? Like,
I mean, talking from the COD perspective as myself, it's people in our COD community look at it as quite scummy. You know what I mean?
Oh, we are a very scummy community. I mean, Halo. God, let's not talk. Like, every community is toxic, but I think the most toxic out of all of them is Gears because you have people fighting at events.
Oh God.
And Black Isle actually, like, they embrace that. So, props to them.
I'm surprised you said Gears because normally I'd say like Call of Duty's up there. Call of Duty's, it's annoying because in the last couple of years, COD just really gets mocked. You know what I mean? From the top PC games like CS:GO and all that. So hopefully with this boots on the ground release, we can actually build a good reputation up, obviously, at the end of the day. And I think we're the top of the console esports. You know, Halo and Gears of War are good, but they're nowhere near Call of Duty's audience. What?
COD's like number 2 on Twitch now, isn't it, at the moment?
Is it? Well,
Yeah.
of course it is, yeah. So
League of Legends was number 1. CS:GO was probably number 2. Now it's COD.
I mean, Call of Duty throughout the whole year should stay top 5, easy. I mean, if it's not, I understand League of Legends, Counter-Strike, massive events, yeah, they'll take over, you know what I mean? Like massive LAN events, yeah, of course, they'll swamp it. But
let's talk about how big they were. Like, did you guys see the World Championships for League?
Mate, it was like a stadium, a whole stadium.
Yeah, it was a full
like a whole
Olympic stadium.
It's genuinely beautiful. Like, that is what esports should be.
It's like a full-blown performance.
It's madness, like, Call of Duty one day, I'm sure we'll be up there. It's just, we're still stuck in that. Like, League of Legends has took it that extra step, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cool having a massive LAN event and all that, like massive indoor event, but when you get a whole stadium like that, like we're talking thousands upon thousands of people in there.
Because I was actually surprised with the show up at CWL Orlando, because, I mean, I was there for the COD World League Championships, and I was sitting, you know, I'm up there, I'm sitting in my box, and I'm looking down, I was like, okay, the VIP section isn't too full, but it could use some work.
Yeah.
But like the sheer amount of people. Here's how you could tell we were playing a bad game. Everybody, even the pro teams that were knocked out, they were just playing the GBs, and it was just World War II. Everyone was paying attention to more of that than the actual championship. Like, I don't actually think I was there when Optic won the championship. Oh yeah, I was because they shut down the station the last day, so everyone would have.
Oh yeah, so they didn't to go watch. I mean, it's sensible, obviously.
Yeah.
You would have just carried on playing COD World War II. I mean, that's good to mention because you could tell how much people despised Infinite Warfare. Like the last couple of months, how have we coped with that for 12 months? You know what I mean? It was dreadful. Like, it genuinely was a dreadful game.
I mean, it was just so broken too, and it felt like there was no love from the developers. Like, that's what Halo is. There's no love from the developers. There's no love from the community. There's just genuinely no love. Like, you have Infinite Warfare, you'll have the love from the jetpackers and the keyboarders. Yeah.
I mean, Call of Duty easily has the potential to be a top esport, I believe.
Oh, it does.
The audience is there, you know what I mean? The backing, we've got it easily. It's just, can we compete and get out this
Can we outdo CS:GO? Because CS:GO has been doing the same formula for almost 20 years, and they're beating us in viewership.
It's the same game, you know what I mean?
Same maps for 20 years.
And you do think how they're still doing that.
But because that CS:GO is actually Counter-Strike in general is it's more like a close-knit community. It's basically no skill gaps. I mean there kind of is, but
the top stay at the top, you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you look at the top, there's not really a skill.
They've been at the top since they were 13, and now they're in their late 20s, and they're still at the top.
Yeah.
And then, but the thing is with CS:GO, they do it so right that you have the younger kids that have the potential to jump into the pro scene. Like, you have kids that are 14, 15, signing their first contracts with major organizations, and then leaving their home for a better life.
Yeah.
It's literally just like any other sports. Like, they've done it right.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I don't like age restrictions when it comes. I do like certain ones, I do, but for most of them, no. I don't like the whole 18 and up thing, because now you see everybody that was unable to compete after Advanced Warfare come back now, and that's why there's so many it's a flood of pros now.
Yeah, originally that was the thing that killed COD.
Returning.
Yeah, that was the thing that really halved that audience, you know what I mean? I understand kids can be kids, but you don't understand how much of the audience actually takes up that. If we put it down to 16 now, then perfect. I believe LAN events would have no problem selling out, and even 18 plus. You know, Dallas sold out in 3 hours. Was it? They had to literally put on more tickets available. It's crazy. From what we're getting right now, we have the potential.
Dallas is sold out completely. I was gonna go to Dallas, and I was just like, and then we get there, like, oh, yep.
You didn't even get a couple of days to think about it. It was like it was announced, and the next day, boom, tickets, they're gone. I'm like, all right. Didn't even get time to
the
like
team
plan
passes. The team passes sold out like literally in like 1 hour.
It's done.
So like people didn't have like time to think about like, oh, am I gonna go to this event in
Am I gonna
America?
go to this? Do I have to buy my
Especially from
flights?
like a EU. Pardon?
It was like for all of us that were like getting ready to do so, like you had to make a split decision. Like you could buy the team pass, but then you find out you don't have the flights.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh well.
Like now, if you look at Twitter, you'll see like people trying to like illegally like sell the team passes to other people. It's like, but you can't
That's how
do that.
you know they really miss boots on the ground.
It isn't like, isn't it an actual official like guideline against it? You can't sell that team ticket.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same with like festival tickets and stuff, though, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I mean, some people bought 2 though, which is a bit annoying. I understand, maybe just in case. But
reserved passes though, like reserve, like let's say we have pro teams, like minus maybe the lower pro teams. I don't know, but I think all pro teams that should have their reserve passes. So let's say like if Cloud9 does decide to pick up another COD team, but let's say Evil Geniuses should have a reserve pass, Optic reserve pass, Envy reserve pass, Echo Fox because they just picked up a good roster. Rise, like all those pro teams that you all know about, all the players you know about, and they should all have their they should have a reserve team pass, so we don't have people worrying about that. And then you have the semi-pros and the AMs those are the ones that really need to worry about that because they're the ones that are going to fuel everything.
The only problem with that I can see is obviously the game isn't even out yet, and like we're talking. Obviously, when they announced it, the game wasn't even out. So if they did something like that, a lot of the community wouldn't be pleased because I understand Optic Envy, they're obvious pro teams, but other ones you may not certainly class as pro yet until obviously they start competing at this first level. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I'm sure gun skill never really drops off from game to game, but people do change. People are better than others. People are worse than others. Stuff does change. Of course it does. It's a whole different game now. Whereas obviously, I'm sure the pros will continue as pros, but like I said, some teams will be worse than others, some teams will be better than others, like everything really. But it's like if they did do something like that, people may be a little bit displeased because how can you class them as a pro team when the title's not even out yet? You know, it's like they haven't even touched the game fully yet, a full completed game. So it's like, how can you do that? I understand it because then it sets the frustration apart from some teams that should have one, then have to go to like MLG Adam or something and beg for one. Like, please, can you release?
Or they have to go through like a relegation system.
Yeah. And it's when you go through a relegation system, it's cutting your chances fine because all you need is one bad day there, and then you're gone. You know what I mean? You can't qualify then, and that's the things with stuff like that. It's that risk you shouldn't be taking. You know what I mean?
So on to media coverage of esports.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Or the media disaster of esports. Let's begin with Dexerto, shall we?
So
I saw what they did yesterday.
So did you guys? I don't know if you guys saw, but Dexerto released an article about Hook and Slasher, and they were saying who's going to be competing with Hook and Slasher, and it was like at 8 o'clock at night, and the announcement from Team Envious was that day. Earlier that day. I was just like...
What I heard from the founder on Twitter, he had scheduled that tweet, so it kind of wasn't... He didn't really expect Team Envy to tweet that out, you know what I mean? Scheduling a tweet is always risking it, but you can't really know that Team Envy's going to do that, you know?
Note to all social media managers, do not schedule your tweets
especially with stuff like that, It was a risk, but unfortunately for them, it did come out that Team Envy obviously already announced it. But yeah, Rectify, what do you think about the media coverage scene at the moment? Like, we don't really have a flurry of media outlets in esports. Those are the main few, but it's still like there's not really them ones that cater towards the AM scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need like.
They can give a care less. They don't even know what to call us. They don't know how to spell esports.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So basically, in terms of media for esports, it's still like very small compared to like mainstream media. Like like ESPN. Of course, ESPN has like a esports like publication, but they don't like really. They just cover like some stuff and
Yeah.
It's like because esports publications are
Yeah.
very small. They haven't really had
Like
that much time.
10 minutes.
Yeah, they haven't like had that much of a time to expand because
Alright.
they're still stuck in that kind of like sphere, and like because other people like like casual games don't really know what like esports is. It's like it's going to be harder for them to break out and like kind of like become like mainstream media.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, UK esports news is a good one to mention because I think they've done a really good job on actually catering towards the AM scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As much like any free time they get, they will put them articles out on organisations that are obviously at a lower level, but they are doing important things that need an article written about it at the end of the day. But it is still the case is like Dextero, Esports Insider, they're still the top ones. You know what I mean? And of course they're not. You email them saying, they don't care if you're picking up a COD team at the end of the day, even though let's say that COD team's like a top 20 team, they don't care because your organisation isn't at that level. It's frustrating because how are you supposed to get that exposure article wise? Because if you ever tried to apply for a verification on Twitter, you need a couple articles about you to
exactly.
You know what I mean? And if you're an amateur org and you're doing stuff but nobody's writing articles about you, what can you link there? You know what I mean?
Welcome to my world. Like, you play at Daytona and nobody wants to write an article about me. And the one article that gets written about us is like, oh, yeah, we have top AM mixed talent going in. Excited to see what they do. Like, it's your typical, like, pre-game, like, article.
Yeah.
Dude,
it's so annoying.
Let me interview.
Get Rectify in it, because if you didn't know, Rectify is an actual
journalist.
Yeah, I'm an esports journalist.
Do write an article about me if you feel like it.
Yeah. I've done an interview with Aerox Esports owner and a amateur Call of Duty player from the scene too. So yeah, it's like my first of interviews.
More often. Like they need to interview like as much like nobody's gonna care about the opinion of AMs, but like it does more to legitimize the sports feeling of esports. Like you'll see like in college athletics they'll interview like the incoming freshmen or top like high schoolers. They'll be like, oh yeah, let's get some information from you guys, let's talk about you guys. And the more talk they get about it, more exposure, more audience, more money, better esports. Done.
What would be like the up and coming people and like the up and coming people in the amateur community within esports as well. So if you've already got articles on them, like later on if they do become pros and so on and so forth, and then their names, then that's going to be on top of the list in it. That you've already talked to them, you've already got their contacts, so on and so forth, and they've already got stuff written about them, so they've got something that they can show to organisations if they are amateur players. Or if you're trying to get that blue mark.
Indeed, yeah. Sorry to put you on the spot, Joshy, but what do you think would split the amateur scene from the professional scene? Like in your eyes, what differs?
What, like the difference?
Yeah, amateur scene and professional scene.
Well, the professional like more is like they get more attention and that.
Why do you think they get more attention though?
Because the people think they can do better than the amateurs.
Do you think because the caliber of the teams they have, obviously backing them at the end of the day?
Yeah.
I mean, it puts in. It's hard to differ because how do you go from an AM to a pro? Like you can't really do it overnight. But how do you
do it overnight?
How do you expect getting? How do you go from competing for free? Getting a bit of funding, getting a team ticket to go into these LAN events, and then the next week you've got a couple grand coming in a month. You know what I mean? How do you go from that? Like, what would you say, Sniper?
I don't know. Like, if you're gonna go from AM to pro, like you literally have. I don't want to say this, but there's a little bit of luck involved when you're an AM and you're going to pro. Because I know a lot of pros, they went from grinding overnight and they would go into one of the current pros like lobbies, and then they're like, "Oh, this guy's a complete warrior. We gotta pick this guy up." They do well at an event, place at an event, make a good amount of money, and then they have a organization backing them up. It's all about like not only like your skill but your networking, like who you know.
That's
Like
what I was
if you
gonna
get
say,
into like an if you get into like an A, let's say we get into an eights lobby, like we're playing with Jerd, Madcat, and all of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, these guys aren't bad. Huh. Let's go refer them to somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because like I know a lot of pros have a Skype chat where they'll just literally say scrim, and they have a scrim like that.
Yeah.
And you'll be lucky as an AM, like if you're a top AM, you'll be lucky to be put into that Skype chat. And if you do like anything, or you just like play awful, or you somehow like you screw something up, they just blacklist you and take you out. Because there was a big controversy back in Black Ops 2 where they blacklisted Optic
Yeah, I remember
because
that.
they were so dominant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
they're
think
still
so.
dominant, but like you can't do that. But for AMs, it's literally just like we're just posting on Twitter, "Hey, scrim."
Yeah.
I mean,
Or
it
we
is one
just
of
go
them
and pick
things.
battles.
People who you know, but at the end of the day, you can do it the hard-working way. It's where, you know, people in the AIM community, you may not be surrounded with players of your caliber that you think you can actually achieve pro,
Exactly.
but people around you aren't really the same caliber. You can attend a LAN event, and let's say you come top 16, you get into pools. That's your breakthrough. Then you need, but
Yeah,
then
that's
you need
definitely
to
your breakthrough then.
you need to capitalize it on it.
Yeah.
If you don't capitalize, then there's no point. You get into that point. If you get into pools and then you just go back home, scrim in, do your normal wages and all that. What's the point?
Yeah.
You got to pools for no reason then.
You gotta
You need
keep
to
going.
you need to capitalize it on, like, you should know from that point onwards that you deserve a better team. Let's say maybe that team that you went with is good and is solid and you can move forward with that. Maybe it's not. Maybe you do need to go FA and then obviously, you know, contact some professional players, see if they can see what they can do for you. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it is who you know. Of course, skill plays a factor. If you're not actually good enough to play that game, then you can't really reach that professional level. But
Yeah.
who you know plays a huge factor, because then obviously that puts you in direct contact with owners of organisations, other top caliber players that may be looking for one or something like that. So yeah, who you know, I'm afraid it is a still big factor, which is a bit annoying
It'll
for some
always
players.
be a big factor.
Yeah.
It's literally it'll be a big factor in all of your life and your business aspects because
Well, yeah, in
who
real
you
life.
know is going to be almost as important as your skill set and what you bring to the table. Because let's say you know you have a good friend in a place and they can help you out and they get you the job. That's what's going to happen in esports too. Like, oh yeah, let's say, oh yeah, I got a personal connection to like a pro player. Oh yeah, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
You're hanging out with us today.
I think
So
people
you
glance
associate
over it in
with- yeah.
esports, but in real life, if you get a good reference from, like, you know, someone else from a top business,
Yeah.
Exactly.
it means so many words. It really
Right.
does. Obviously, you have a much higher chance to get that position or get that job, whatever you're heading for.
Mhm.
But yeah, back onto media coverage. Rectify. What would you say at the moment are like the top three, the giants in the esports industry when it comes to, you know, their coverage?
Okay, so in terms of publication, I'm not like the major ones would be probably like Dexa2, probably Red Bull Esports maybe.
I didn't
Yeah,
even
that's-
know Red Bull Esports was relevant.
What kind of esports do they focus on? Is it like an overall spectrum or
Are you talking about Red Bull Esports?
Red Bull? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just they just report on like many different like games like, you know, League of Legends, CS:GO, Halo. I basically write Halo for Red Bull Esports now.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's my main
because
focus.
I didn't know that Red Bull Esports was still like a thing. I knew they were big back in like Call of Duty Ghosts, but I didn't know like they're still relevant now.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing with like, you know, when they had Nadeshot as their like
Yeah, they're
like partner
ambassador.
player. It's like master player. It's like that was interesting. Now
We got Jake
now
in the
they've
chat here. Sorry to cut you off. We got, you know, Jake from UK Esports. You may know, may not. But Jake put Red Bull do anything non-violent unless it's cartoonish like Overwatch. I mean, it makes sense.
Huh. They can't do anything violent now. Is that why they stopped covering like Call of Duty and stuff?
Do Gears of War, man.
Oh well, yeah. Let's
Yeah.
definitely do Gears of War. That's the best one.
Not violent at all. When you shoot someone
not
with a
at all.
shotgun, they don't explode or anything.
No. And then when you lose in a match, you don't get up and try to fight your opponent across the stage.
I mean, what would you say about Dextera? Like, Dextera is a weird one because they really only focus on Call of Duty, if you're thinking about it.
Well, yeah, Dexerto is, well, here's the thing. Dexerto is partially owned by Optic.
I heard about that. So it's a
So,
bit...
yeah, Dexerto has their, like, Hex section. But Dexerto is mainly Call of Duty. They don't really cover too much esports. If you really want...
Yeah. They've
American
done that on the
coverage
Halo event, but it's still like, it's only like the top 16. They just list it and talk about it for a bit, which is...
And then they do a lot of clickbait, which gets annoying. I hate. Like, I literally am starting to unfollow Dexerto because it's getting that annoying with the
Yeah,
clickbait.
it's kind of more like,
They're
you know, it's like
players.
sorry, it's basically turning into like the BuzzFeed of esports kind of, because it's like it's sometimes like reporting on like unnecessary stuff. Maybe don't.
Yeah,
please don't.
it's like, it's funny to an extent, and I'm sure, you know, some of their fans like it, but
Yeah.
it's when when you're promoting like Scumpy eats some toast and then you're writing an article about it, like, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, it's dumb stuff like
Scumpy
that.
Versus steak. Well done. With
Like,
ketchup. God, guys, come on now.
you know what I mean?
Report on something actually relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, the main problem anyway, some people have with Dexter. I like what they're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
I like Chris, one of the owners. I think he's one of the most down-to-earth people ever. But
Yeah.
it's what they're doing sometimes may look a bit cheesy and sketchy at a sense, because it's just going for them analytics at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's like, you know, it's kind of like nice if, you know, if like casual, I mean not casual, but like known people, if they want to look and kind of make it like sort of like a link to like, you know, like more like mainstream media, then I mean it'd be good, because it basically yeah, it just like give more, it'd be more understandable to like, you know, known people, and like then they might get like into it and like understand what's going on like from there. So yeah.
Yeah.
The publications play a big part in like the understanding of like esports, of course, and yeah, it's key.
Rectify, have you heard of Newzoo?
News, I mean, yeah, it sounds familiar.
I
Actually, yeah,
I really
like-
like. They did the esports reports, don't they?
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
honestly love
Yeah.
them. They are wonderful. Honestly, I've used their analytics many
Yeah.
times like, with myself.
I've used it in an article before.
They're so good, honestly. I love what they're doing, but I think that's the only really time I focus on them. You know what I mean? They do these yearly reports, which is great, but that's the only time we hear about them each year. You know, I mean, if they could expand and do, you know, daily, weekly articles, that'd be cool. But
Yeah,
you never really hear, unless their marketing's quite weak, and I just don't see it. You never hear about them until like at the end of the year when they're publishing their report again. I love what they're doing there, though. I think that's so interesting because they make it very easy to read and like nice to look at. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, which obviously makes it user friendly to people outside of esports, which I like. Talking in the chat now, Jake saying ESPN.esports and the
Dot
score.
Esports is getting better.
yeah, Dot Esports is.
They're like a better version of Dexerto. Much better version.
They're the most professional, I'd say, publication.
Yeah.
Especially for CS:GO. I mean, they have good writers for CS:GO. I think they have Richard Lewis, I think, or they might have.
Yeah.
I love Richard Lewis.
Yeah, Richard Lewis is amazing.
But there is a slight reason I do hate Richard Lewis because he did kind of screw everything out of. He did kind of screw NA's only hope at winning a major, but we won't go into that.
Yeah.
I by power.
Jip, are you still alive?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well,
What
he
do you
had to.
think? What do you think about the media industry in esports, mate?
Do you know? I think I speak for most gamers out here, and like I can't be bothered reading them. To be honest, like I'd
Can't
rather
bother
be
reading.
playing the games than like reading articles and so on and so forth.
I mean, it's a fair different point, but do you think you'd prefer kind of these, you know, them edited motion graphic videos where it's just like information pops up and all that?
Yeah, I
So
could
it's a
say,
lot easier. So it's like
Yeah.
a few minute video, it's like
and it
a
keeps your
condensed
attention span really.
word art.
Like,
Yeah, you know what I mean. I love video stuff like that.
Yeah. Also, yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but Jake just said, I think in esports journalists are bigger than their publications. How true do Do you think?
What are you meaning by that? Like the actual singularities that work for these companies are.
Yeah, it's like
Actually,
these people that are like basically what keeps like the publication alive because of their like like their personality status and basically how famous they are.
mm,
Do you
like,
think? Do you think they are what make these publications stand out?
Yeah, though like as you get with ESPN, you have the personalities, and I think like as esports develops more, they'll have their own like writing personalities. Like Richard Lewis is a big face of them. They're gonna be like, oh, let's read the Richard Lewis article.
Yeah.
But like that's the only one I can really think of off the top of my head.
I mean, am I the only one that's not really? I don't really care who writes it at the end of the day.
I don't care who writes
I see
it, but
from
it's
some-
like
yeah.
Yeah, there's
give me more
definitely
talk
also that side of like it's like yeah, I don't think like many people actually care about who's writing this stuff. It's just like it's like oh, I'm here, I'm looking at this webpage, I want to find out some information about the Cold War League,
Yeah.
or the new CS:GO major. What's the prize pool? Stuff like that. I don't think many people consider who's actually behind those articles and actually care about those personalities because I mean they're not the sort of people who'd actually like you'd see to have like significant personalities, unlike like the optic YouTubers or phase YouTubers.
I get what you mean. But I think, like I mentioned to Jip, they should do a lot more. I know it's a bit more expensive to be creating these high production videos and all that every single day, or like some kind of daily report. But I think it's very worthwhile doing so because it does capture much more of an audience. Because you may not have time to click on this article, read through, and kind of get your whole details what you're looking for about it.
Yep.
I'm sure if you're doing in-depth research, they're perfect for it. Yeah, but when we're looking, when you've only got like 2 minutes to spare each day, a nice video is perfect there. You know what I mean? It fits in perfectly, and I think that is one of the biggest gaps in the market that esports isn't really looking at. I'm sure if one company did do some kind of daily report with that, make it look pretty kind of like, I'm sure you can't cover every single esport in the world in one video. You know what I mean? But it'd be pretty sick if they did something like that. I mean, that's the only gap I can see in the media industry anyway.
I think you're definitely correct about that. Like people, I mean, none of these publications are actually like posting videos or like like a short summary of what happened today.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Dexter 2 do that. I think kind of, but like like other publications are trying to be more formal, and just like put it into like more traditional media, but just like typing it out, like to appeal to more even people and make it even simplified. I mean it's key to have that aspect of like a video that people.
I think the main reason they're doing that at the moment is because if you actually think who reads them articles, it's like the management kind of side of esports, it's the businessmen of esports. It's not really the actual core gamers and the players. Obviously, if they did do more of that, like videos, I'm sure it would fit the gamers and the players' personalities and what they're looking for perfectly. Whereas I'm sure at the moment they're trying to cater to more of that professional audience, that ones that want to read stuff like that obviously have a history because that is the history of media, stuff like that. But yeah, I think if they do expand it out into something like that, it's definitely worthwhile and it's definitely will captivate definitely more of an audience easily.
So,
Jip, do you have anything to add?
I'll probably sound really stupid now, but when the topic first came up, I thought it wasn't about like this type of media. I thought it was like on about like growing like an esport.
Oh, like oh wait, what?
Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, well, I mean like Twitch and that. Like,
so
that,
content.
Yeah.
Like content creation and shit. I mean, it is something to mention. To be fair, I wouldn't put it in like media industry. Like match it with news articles and all that. I'd put it like content creation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think if we're mentioning it, it makes esports. It gives esports a face. You know what I mean? If we don't have personalities and if we don't have people playing live on live streams, creating videos about it, where's the face of esports? You know, sports have the personalities. Like if we're mentioning one, like every Olympics, I think he's quit now. But Usain Bolt, you know what I mean? Like even if you're not from Jamaica, you love Usain Bolt. It's one of them. It's a personality at the end of the day that you support regardless of what country you're from. Whereas in esports, it's the same thing. Like what League of Legends, I'm not too familiar on League of Legends, but I saw a lot about it. So Faker, everyone loves Faker, but he lost this weekend. So it's like you kind of torn then, you know what I mean? People still support Faker, even though Samsung won. It's still that case.
Everyone loves Faker.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
World.
Regardless if he lost or anything. It's like if he won, everyone so happy, everyone really happy, yeah. But if he lost, everyone's like, they kind of move their faces away from Samsung actually winning and kind of focus on Faker losing, which is a bit annoying, I'm sure, for Samsung because they're not in the highlight for winning. It's Faker for losing, you know.
But
so
who cares? Who cares? They want the biggest.
The man is
himself as a
three-time
personality,
world champion, so
there you go.
They're gonna
That's
care
the
less.
definition. That's the definition of a personality. It's like the same thing there. But when talking about content creation, like I said, it puts that face on esports definitely, and it is important. But other than that, I think we're pretty much tied up here. Do you want to add anything? Anybody else?
No, I don't think so.
Go for it, Jip. End it off then, babes.
Right, well, thank you everybody for all the viewers today coming in. I know it was like all rushed, and so it's why Nathan got kind of pulled in here. And again, thank you to Josh who's left, and two other guests as well for putting in their stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna end it off here. Again, thank you everybody for just sitting and watching. It will be uploaded on the YouTube tomorrow at 8 o'clock, correct?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you did miss any of it, make sure you do check it over there. That's about it though.
Well, yeah. Cheers everyone for watching. Much love.
all right, see you guys.